Let's get this done.
What do you think, Mayor? As a practitioner of the art yourself, damn good commercial, right?
Yeah, I tell you, first of all, good morning, Michael. And I have to admit, in full transparency, I am a fan of Love Actually, and I agree. I mean, I think this commercial really pointed out, even more than I think some of the conclusions that are being drawn by a lot of people in the U.S. around the outcome of those elections. That in Boris Johnson's case, he kept the message simple. It was direct. It was understandable. On the left, you had a divergence of candidates where the message was mixed, all in between. Not a lot of consistency. Even the head of the Labor Party was afraid to really come down and say where he was on the issue of Brexit. And I think that was confusing to those who were anti-Brexit folks. And so I would have to say that it probably had a lot more to do with the consistency and strength of the message. And that ad, obviously, pretty brilliant in and of itself, that contributed to the kind of outcome that we saw in the British elections.
Look, I'm no expert, although I do try to follow it, but I certainly remember that Brexit was June of 2016. Trump's election was November of 2016. In retrospect, people said, man, that seems like a wake-up call of sorts. Do you think too much is being made of the application of Boris Johnson's victory on Thursday, or I should say the Conservative Party, and what it might mean for Trump?
Well, I mean, so let's just put the facts in here, which are Boris Johnson avoided Trump like the plague just recently during Trump's visit to Europe. Wouldn't even take public pictures with him. Was also seen amongst a group of foreign leaders literally laughing at the president. Donald Trump remained for him a scourge in Britain, just as he does for about half the country here in the United States. And so I do think we ought to be cautious as to how much we sort of compare the two of these and use this as a prelude to what will happen in November. Another thing that I would point out is here in the United States, we know that in 2016, 4 million fewer people voted in the presidential elections. If a Democrat is going to win, and I sure as heck hope we do, we're going to have to do a very, very, very persuasive job at not only bringing those voters back into the fold, but ensuring that we can pull together our base. Our common threat remains the same, regardless of whether you are in the Bernie Sanders camp or the Joe Biden camp, and that is defeating Donald Trump. We can't have the same mistake that we saw happen, I think, in Great Britain, where you had the opposition split so widely that it was very, very difficult to come up with a consistent and clear message that the left, the right, the middle could all unify around.
Mayor, I don't know if I could find the Midlands on a map of the UK, but I keep reading about the people who live in the Midlands, and they sound a lot like the folks who live in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio, who have similarities in terms of they voted for Boris Johnson, and here in the States, they voted for Donald Trump. These folks in formerly manufacturing meccas who are buying into the idea that it can all happen again for them.
Yeah, I mean, what I hope that those folks, at least here in the United States, will conclude is that under Donald Trump, he's actually exacerbated their problems and not made it easier. Those same jobs that evaded them in 2016 and in the lead up to it still evade them today. Donald Trump sold them a bill of bads. And the Democratic nominee and the Democratic Party has to point out those differences, that their lives are not better off in that instance. But I would also say, Michael, we've got to do a better job of reaching back to those voters who showed up for us in 2012, showed up for us in 2018, and then they decided not to participate in the 2016 elections at the level that we needed to